Hello and good evening to everyone. Welcome to another episode of HackerTV, our very own podcast for Acehack 3.0. I'm your host Biraj, and today we have with us Miss Haimantika Mitra. Ma'am, welcome to episode 9 of HackerTV. We're delighted to have you and can't wait to hear more from you. So, my
Hi,
first
hi,
question is,
Viraj.
ma'am, how are you
Yeah,
doing? How is everything?
all good. Just very busy week, but then yeah, all good. How about you? How is everybody in your team and also the ASAC participants doing?
Ma'am, everything is going smoothly, everything is fine, everyone is doing great, and we're very excited for ASAC. So, ma'am, for our audience, could you please introduce yourself and tell them what you do?
Absolutely. So, hi, everybody. I am Haimantika Mitra, and I'm currently working as a developer advocate at Hashnode. So, if my job role made you think that, okay, what's that? I like to mention that I do not fight cases for developers because people do think that advocates will be doing that. But other than that, previously I have worked at AppWrite and a little while at Microsoft as well. And I made this cool terminal thing that you can go and check out more about. So go to your terminal, and I hope you have npm installed. If not, just install npm, and then go to your terminal, type npx space hello hyphen Hemantika. Just spell out my name and type enter. That's where you'll get to know more about me, my portfolio, and all of it as well. And other than that, I'm very excited to be here on this podcast because not very long back, I was a student myself, like you, in college, and I do understand the benefit of communities, hackathons, and how important it can be to upskill your tech as well as soft skills. So yeah, that's pretty much about me. And as we talk more in this podcast, is where I would like to share um, with you tips or even stories that worked for me. It may or may not work for you, but yeah, let's keep that for the later. And thanks again, Biraj.
That's great, ma'am. Thank you very much. So, let's talk about DevRel a little bit. So,
Yeah,
as we know that there's a huge craze about DevRel, and a lot of people aspire to become a DevRel, right? So,
yeah.
I would like to know what is your take on it. What do you think about it?
Great. So I just to give you a bit of context about DevRel and that how long it existed. So a lot of people think that it only existed recently, but no, it existed since 1980s, and Apple was the first company to come up with this rule. So as a job role, it's we are wearing multiple hats while we are in the company. We are somebody who is writing code. We are somebody who is also writing content. We are somebody who's writing documentation, and we are also somebody who is building the community, running different community programs, and indirectly helping the company and the community grow. So I like to sum it up all as that we do three C's: code, content, and community in a job role. And there's a lot of context switching and multiple hats that we need to wear, and that's the exciting part of the job. So I think when it comes to the craze that you mentioned, I guess that's because that recently people saw on social media that devils travel a lot. Yes, a tiny percentage of our work involves travel, but then it's it's not traveling for fun. You're traveling for work, and it's very different from a vacation. When you're traveling from work, you have certain things that you need to achieve, and added to that, there is tiredness. If you're going to a different country, you'll be jet lagged and all of it, and you need to work as well. So um, I love the role because I have a passion for it, and this is something that I also tell anybody who is looking forward to get into this role, that do the job if you feel that you are passionate about it and you can do it in the long run. Because a lot of times when we grow older and when we get responsibilities and there are other priorities to meet in life, that is when it can become really challenging, because like I mentioned, that we are wearing multiple hats, and it's not that I am following particular things every day, or every day in my job I'm doing the same set of things. I am innovating a lot, I'm learning a lot, and that is something that can be a difficult process, or something that not everybody would want to do it in the next 5 or 10 years. So yeah, that is what I mentioned. And like I mentioned, that make sure that you know in and out of the role. And one of the best ways to do that is read newsletters about DevRel, just Google it, you'll find a lot of them. And even talk to people who have been in DevRel for many years, ask about their perspective, how the job market looks like, what it has in store for you, and then make an informed decision. Just don't make a decision by seeing somebody's story of media. Yeah, that's all.
Yeah. Ma'am, could you share some of your experience becoming a DevRel, and could you provide us some tips to become a successful DevRel?
Yeah, definitely. So for me, ever since I was a college student, I my first learnings, it like I knew how to code since school, because like I came from an ICC background, and then that's how we were introduced to coding. But when I was in college, I didn't want to do engineering, I wanted to do something else. And then I realized, okay, now that I'm in college, I'll probably need to make use make it worth my parents expenditure and everything. And then
Right.
I started doing a lot of things. I started learning Python. I started doing some amount of web development, machine learning, and I tried my hands on a lot of things. But there was not one direction that I had in my career, and I didn't know what I actually wanted to do. I loved writing, I loved talking to people. And then I joined this community called Microsoft Learn Student Ambassadors. Back then it was called Microsoft Student Partners. And that was very late in my college years, I believe, because it was almost towards the end of my pre-final year, like third year. And but that was the turning point of my life, because that is when I got to meet a lot of people. Before that, I was just within my boundaries in the city where I studied, and within my college boundaries, and I did not know anybody outside that. I just knew the careers that my seniors were following, and like any typical tier 3 college, we didn't have a lot of exposure. We were still asked to solve aptitude and design patterns and all of those things. Design patterns like the star patterns, not design systems. So
Yeah, yeah,
yeah, there was very little learning that I had, and I believe, okay, this is what is supposed to be, and this is how life is supposed to be, until I joined communities and I saw that people my age and even younger are, they know so many things, they are doing such cool things, they are building such amazing projects and all. And that is how I started interacting with people, attending events like these events. I used to attend a lot of those, and then I started building with Microsoft technologies heavily, like with Azure, with Microsoft Power Platform. And I used to post about it a lot on Twitter back then. Like public learning, all of these were not popular like it is right now. I would just post because I liked it. And you still find a lot of my funny videos on YouTube where I'm in two ponies and I'm recording my screen and saying, hey, this is what I built. So I used to do that and maybe write some blogs in a while or two. And then slowly, that is how I was also building my brand. And then I got invited to speak in the biggest conference that Microsoft has, called Microsoft Build, though that was online. But yeah, I got, that was my first big hit. And slowly people started recognizing me. And that is when I also got to know about this role called not development rel is the entire what to say, like it's the entire um, job path. But within
yeah.
then I got to know about developer advocates, and I was like, okay, what do you do?
Right.
And then I got to know that they are somebody who are hands on with tech, who are somebody who's writing, who are also talking to people. And that's when I figured out, okay, this is something that I really want to do. And slowly I started getting into different internships like software engineering. Then I did some amount of consultancy work as well, and that is a software development work. Then I contributed to open source, and I was an LFX mentee. And through all of it, my interest grew more and more into developer advocacy, basically all the three C's that I mentioned, and also into open source. So but then, since I was so engrossed in Microsoft technologies, Microsoft became my dream company, and I was lucky enough to get a full-time offer there. So I was there for a year. But I realized that though it's my dream company, but I'm not doing my dream job, and I'm not liking the work that I'm doing. That is when I made a switch and moved to Appright as a developer advocate. So that was my official job title, and where I was actually doing developer advocacy stuff. So yeah, that's how it all started. Though it But the roots were already formed, right. I was when I was in my college years, because I was doing all the three C's and having some proof of work. So yeah, that's everything, and that's how I got my first role as a developer advocate.
That was very interesting and inspiring. That was a very inspiring story. Thank you for sharing it with us, ma'am. Now,
Thank you.
we are organizing a hackathon, ASAC 3.0. So I want to know what does participation in a hackathon have any relation to the field of DevRel, or if how can DevRel help us with hackathons?
So I'll ask you a counter question. When you mentioned that the correlation, so do you mean like to get a job as a DevRel, or how which standpoint are you coming from?
No, I mean, if I participate in a hackathon,
Yeah.
does that help me become a DevRel in any way? Is there some kind of connection?
Not really, but like even now I participate in hackathons. Like last to last week I was in a hackathon. So it's definitely a great place to be for growing your skills, to know about different technologies. There is no direct connection, but there is an indirect connection, because as DevRel we are also doing a lot, learning a lot of technologies on the go. For example, I didn't know Svelte when I joined app, right? But then I had to make an app with Svelte. That is when I learned Svelte. So very similar to
Yeah,
how you do things at hackathons, right? That you
right.
join a hackathon, you learn about new technologies. Like even in my first hackathon is how I learned to build an API. So you learn on the go, and then you learn how to work in a team, which is also very important. You learn how to work with developers. So directly it doesn't have any relation, but indirectly these are the skills that you are building, like learning
Yeah,
something instantly, building something with it. And a lot of hackathons also ask you to write a blog, so you're also
right.
honing your writing skills with it. And then you're working in a team, so team building, team working skills is something that you are building as well. So, and I believe that all of these skills are needed in any job role. It doesn't have to be specific to a DevRel job role. Even as a software engineer, even as a manager, or even if you're somebody who is going into marketing, except the development part, the other skills are something that you'll need. So anyway, it's just going to do you better. And another bonus part that I really like about hackathons, even if I don't win, I don't care about it, but at the end of the day I'm having projects, and that's something that I can show as a proof of work. I can
Yeah,
I can really repurpose that. I can make it open source. I can say, hey, I have this open source project. I can write a blog about it, and I can say that, okay, these are the technologies that I know and I can write about. And when you're going, like I mentioned about having a proof of work, when you're listing on your resume the list of technologies, when you know, and when you show them that, hey, I built this project with the list of technologies I know, so that acts as a proof of work. So in every way I feel that it only has good benefits for you and for your career. So yeah, that's my answer to it.
right. Yeah, hackathons really help us working on our, communication, team building,
Yeah,
teamwork skills, and also a lot of other skills, right? So
correct.
I want to know how important are community connections and contributions in hackathon meetups and similar events. Like, how is it how is it important?
So I'll tell you that a lot of my um, internship offers and even job offers, it came through the community, or through social media, in the sense that through Twitter, because I was mostly active on Twitter. And I used to post, I still post a lot of my thoughts on it. And so I believe that communities definitely had a role to play. Had I not been into communities, I would be in the same place where I was in my college, and not know anybody, or not know about the different things that is happening in and around the world. So I believe that definitely helps. But I'll also ask, like especially as a student, to not spend your entire time on it. Maybe just an hour in a day, or 30 minutes a day is also enough, so that you get to know what other people are doing, what other people are learning,
Yeah,
or what if there are any new challenges that's going on. Or let's say, for an example, a hackathon or blogging competition or something like that, you can just be aware of that. So especially as
right.
students, I'll ask you to not spend a lot of time with it. And for community meetups or conferences, I think that depends on city to city. Like Bangalore has one event at least every weekend.
Yeah,
Yeah, every weekend, one week, one or two events, or like even multiple events are there, and it can be really difficult for you to attend all of those. So and even as students, because even if you need to travel, you need to have some money in your pocket to go to those venues, right? So I'll say that only go to those events where you feel that you can get some value from. Just don't go to those
Right.
events where you can click pictures. I see a lot of students do that, and I'll request you not to do that, because there is a very cliche saying that says that your network is your net worth. And believe me, it's not just a saying, it's actually helpful. So whenever you're going to those events, try to not stay within your 2 to 3 friends with whom you're going to the event. Go and meet few people. And I know it can be very weird, but just say, hey, for example, like if I don't know you, or if I'm going to your college, I'll just go and say that, hey, I'm Haimantika, I'm do this and that. And then I would go and just talk and try to strike a conversation. So these are with normal people, because you make a connection, and then a few months or even years later, maybe you have a connection back, and then you are like, okay, there's a job opportunity. I'm just don't make connections for jobs, but I'm just giving you an example. And then also do research of the speakers who are there in the event, so that you can go and talk to them, ask relevant questions.
Yeah.
So this is something that I would suggest you to do in a community event. But be very careful and choosy for the events that you are going. Don't I personally, at this point, especially, I wouldn't go to an event that has a lot of people, because then I feel that I will not be able to have a conversation. But that's something very personal to you. Like, if you believe that you
Yeah.
can go to a big event and make conversations, please do that. But for somebody like me, who is a mixture of an introvert and extrovert, I would go to smaller events where I can talk to more and more people and have a good conversation with them.
Right. That's
Yeah.
that's fair. So, is participation in hackathons important for someone who's aspiring to become a DevRel?
Like I mentioned, that it's not about being important, but it's definitely a plus. All the points that I mentioned
Yeah.
about how about how hackathon can help DevRel or any career is very much interlinked. It's not something mandatory, and the best part is, once you start participating in hackathons, you'll actually look up to more and more, because you like that hacker side of you. Like, even now, many people will say, okay, that you have a job, or do you even need to participate in a hackathon? But I like the drill. I like building something over the weekend. Like, I still, if you go to
Yeah.
my LinkedIn profile, you'll see that I'm building something over the weekends. I haven't been able to do that for 2 to 3 weeks now, but I am building something right now. So yeah, that's something that I like. And if given a chance, now as students, especially people who are participating in ASAC, you have the plate of I would say opportunities right in front of you. So grab that's something that I would say. I didn't have it back in my college days. You have it. Consider and try to grab all the opportunities that you're getting.
Right. That is true. So, a lot of people, I mean, a lot of participants in hackathons have
Mhm.
this one specific question. And even I, when I was participating in hackathons, I had this question
Yeah.
in my mind, is that how can someone win a hackathon and build connections with tech industry leaders?
Okay. So about winning, there are different ways to win it. So I won 2 hackathons, and one of those were SIH, like Smart in a Hackathon, back in 2020, and another one was GitHub Actions Hackathon by GitHub. And for the first one, what I saw was, whenever we were going and presenting, it was a three day hackathon. Yeah, it was, that is when COVID started, so it was online, and it was 3 days. So the judges would ask us to bring some improvements or enhancements to the solution that we have. And what we did was, we actually worked on those. We actually worked on those enhancements. It's, and one thing that I found is that we was, and most of the teams that are waiting, that they are not reinventing the wheel. Like, they're not coming up
Right.
with an absolutely different idea. A lot of people, what they're doing is that they're working on existing solutions, they're finding flaws on that, and then building on top of it. So that
Right.
can be one strategy. And though this is not the next one that I'm saying is not a something that will work 100%, but I also see that a lot of IoT solutions work, because it's also very interesting for
Yeah.
people to see how you can bring life to a hardware. So maybe IoTs can help. And also, another thing is that hackers spend so much time building the solution that they do not work on the presentation. And when
Right.
you're not able to convey what you have built to your judges or to your mentors, then your entire effort becomes zero. Because they won't
Yeah.
understand what you have built, what your ideology is, what your thought process was, and how you perceive it and all of it. So working on presentations, don't keep it for the last. Maybe have somebody dedicated who is good at presenting, or who can help you convey your ideas and thoughts into words. So that's another thing that I saw. And the fourth point is like, don't try to add all fancy technologies that you see, like even if ml is not required, people would still add ml. That,
Yeah.
yeah, you don't need to do that, but make it simple. Have some proof of concepts in some or the other way, even if you are using no code tools. Have something other than that. Like one mistake I see a lot of hackers do, they spend a lot of time in building the front end and nothing is working. Like,
Yeah.
okay, the content is cool, but we need to see something to work, right? So um yeah, we be smart on that. Like, I would suggest that if you were to build the front end, and if you know Tailwind, like Tailwind is something that I like using, I would use the components that Tailwind has, and I would make it quick, especially in a hackathon. And let's say if
Yeah.
I'm building authentication, I would see backend services that are already present, for example Firebase, AppRite, Superbase, or other solutions like that. I would see what's there that I can build from. And the last point is, there are bonus prizes if you're actually there to win it. So there are bonus prizes from sponsors. So like from a sponsor company, so you can try. And a lot of hackers tend to miss that. They don't build anything with the sponsor product. So see what the sponsor is having, what is the solution, and see if any way you can integrate that solution or those product into your solution. That will be a big help as well. So yeah, that's pretty much all the advices that I had.
Yeah, that was great. I'm sure our ace hackers are going to take these advices into account and do
Y-
great in them.
yeah.
So I wanted to ask you, how many hackathons have you participated in, and how many did you win?
I won. Let me remember. I won two. Yeah, just two. And I'm not very proud of that. But yeah, I just won two hackathons, and I participated in around 10 or 15 hackathons so far. Yeah. Maximum 10 to 12, not 15. Yeah. I don't remember the exact
That's
count, but then, like I mentioned, I wasn't aware of a lot of things in my college, and I only started doing it towards the end of my college years. So there was very little time that I had. But back then, there is this company called MLH, League Hacking, and they used to host hackathons almost every day or every week. I don't remember the exact um, timings, but yeah, this do that, and I used to go and participate, or try to participate in at least a few of them. And yeah, and I'm still looking for opportunities to participate in hackathons, because right now people only call me to mentor, and they're like, no,
yeah,
yeah, it's for students or something like that. But I still look out for opportunities where I can participate as a professional as well, because I like that vibe, like I mentioned, that of building
yeah.
something over the weekend, even though it looks really bad, like it's not beautiful. But the I would say the pleasure of building something in a few hours is something that I cannot explain in words, but only in actions. Yeah.
Participating in hackathons is very fun, and that's what matters, not winning. Winning is
Ab-
important all the time.
Absolutely,
Right?
especially if it's
You
an
get to,
offline hackathon.
yeah, you get to meet a lot of people, get to see so many interesting projects. It's a fun process.
Correct, correct. Oh,
Yeah,
on that part, I remembered that you
yeah,
mentioned that how do you network in hackathons? So
yeah,
I would say that I know it's really hard, because I have been doing that. So for me, it's easier to say that just go and say hi to somebody, because and then there might be an awkward silence. But try to keep your shyness a bit on the sidelines, and then just say hi to somebody and say, hey, what are you building? Or if you feel that they'll weird out by that, just introduce yourself and try to become friends. And then when you're doing that, ask for their LinkedIn profile or Twitter profile, and say that, hey, let's stay connected. And most people will do that. Very few
yeah,
people might give you a cold shoulder, and like they're not interested to talk to you. But yeah, you learn from experiences. You can hardly control anybody's behavior, but from your end, you should be happy that you made the effort to talk to somebody, or maybe there is somebody who is equally shy as you, but they couldn't talk and they found a friend in you. There has been
Yeah.
cases where people in conferences told me that, hey, I found a friend in you because I didn't know anybody and you came up to me and said hi. So be that person, be the bigger person, be somebody who goes up to people and talk. I know it's very very hard initially. You'll not want to do that. You just want to, even right now that I know a few people, I go to community meetups, and if I go to community meetups where I know nobody, I still feel weird, but I'm still going to, like, if meetups or conferences have booths, I'm going and talking to them and I'm asking what are they building. So try to strike a conversation.
Yeah, yeah, that is one of the reasons why I love hackathons, because I am an extroverted person and I love interacting with people, and it's very fun talking to people and getting to know them.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, lastly, what are some useful tips and tricks to build a successful project in a hackathon, and not necessarily winning it, but building a
Yeah.
successful project with which you're happy?
Great. So I think I already mentioned those tips, but I'll mention again. So in hackathon, a lot of times what happens is they'll ask you to keep like the code closed source and not open source it. So if you're not winning
Yeah,
it after the hackathon, mostly they'll allow you to open source after the hackathon. So you can do
yeah,
that.
yeah,
And then when people go to your GitHub, they'll actually see some projects that you have, and that again will act as a proof of work. And even you'll feel good about it, because if you're posting about it and you find some contributors, like, make it a very nice open source project. Since I love open source, I'll suggest you do that. Have a proper contributing guide, a license, a readme. Ask contributors how to open issues, and also you'll actually like the drill, and you'll see why people are so much invested in open source. Have your own project, and maybe if it does really well, you can also participate in Hacktoberfest and have other contributors come and contribute to your project. So that's one thing. And the next thing for me is, like, when I first participated in the first hackathon, I didn't know how to build an API, and then in 2 days I was building an API. And that was a eureka moment for me, right? That, okay, this is something I didn't know how to do. Like, I used APIs, I used to call them, but I didn't know how to build one myself. So that
yeah,
is a feeling that I had within me, and I'm sure that you'll also have it within you when you are seeing something that you're using something, and then finally you are someone who is building it. That's there. And also, like, that's the beauty about learning new things or new technologies. And yeah, and any solution, if it's deployed somewhere and you can show to people, to me it's still something that is very exciting. And yeah, that's pretty much it. And it's not only from the solution part of side, like I mentioned about connections. So you can also feel good about having 2 to 3 new friends or acquaintances or connections at the end of the hackathon. Or so in that way, what is 3 things that you are benefiting is, you are having new friends, you are having a very nice experience where um, I'm not sure if you've heard of this term called war rooms that companies have. For example, Google had war rooms when they were launching out Gemini, and then
right.
most companies have war rooms. For example, Disney, when they're streaming a cricket match, they probably might have war rooms as well. So basically what happens is, like, there are engineers who are working continuously, and you see them in office, or you see them on a call. So you get to feel that vibe, that, okay, people are
Yeah,
actually building. That's a very nice feeling that you'll get. So that's definitely there. Your technical skills are increasing because you're learning something new out of it. And then at the end of the day, like, even if you're not winning it, make it open source, or write a blog about it, or post on social media and say, hey, this is what I learned. And that is going to benefit you, either to make connections, or to improve your brand presence, or just to improve your writing skills. So anyway, that is helping. And the final point, when you are going and making friends, you are also improving your soft skills. So overall, I feel that even the cash prize is something that looks really lucrative, or if there are gifts, like the winner prizes, that also looks really good. But I believe these are something that has no price tag attached to it, but will definitely be much more helpful in the future. So yeah,
right.
it's a win-win for you anyway.
Yeah. That was very
Yeah.
very motivating, ma'am, and thank you so much for sharing your wisdom with us. And I had a great time speaking with you, and I'm sure our participants are going to learn a lot from this session. And I just wanted to tell you that how grateful I am for just speaking with you, and just thank you very much.
Absolutely. I loved it. And thanks, Biraj, for hosting me, and to your team as well for inviting me. It was a really big pleasure for me to be here. And if there are any questions, I would like to take those up. If not, my DMs are always open and I am very active in responding as well, except on the weekends because that is when I prefer to sleep. But anytime, I'll also post my links here. Maybe Biraj, you can add it on the chat or wherever you are promoting this so that
Yeah,
people can DM me if they have any questions. I'm more than happy to answer those.
yeah, ma'am. Right
Yeah,
now we don't have any live questions, but I'm sure people will have a lot of questions in your DMs.
absolutely. I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, thank you so much, ma'am, for joining us.
Thanks a
Thank you.
lot. Thank you.